I'd like to call a special board of the Village of Weston Trustees meeting to order. Could all stand and pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. If we could have a roll call, please.
Maloney,
Here.
Cronin,
Here.
Kern, excuse, Ermeling. Here. Sorrel,
Here.
Jordan, excuse, Zagami.
Here. Thank you. Public comments.
There's no one online either, other than staff.
Any public comments? Any public comments? Hearing none, we'll move forward. Minutes from previous meeting, approval of September 22nd, 2025 board budget workshop. What's your pleasure?
Move to approve.
Move to approve by Zagami,
I'll second.
second by Lopes. Anything on the question? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Unfinished business, I see none. New business, review and discussion of the 2026 budget. Debt service and capital improvement plan, general fund revenues and expenditures update, health insurance update.
A little animation on that slab, but it's all good.
Okay, so what we're talking about is the debt service capital projects and then just a little bit about the general fund. So the first one I want to talk about is the debt service. It's used to account for the accumulation of resources used to pay the GO bonds and revenue bonds issued by the TIF districts. Here's a quick snapshot of what it's looking like. We're looking at having our property tax levy at 2.363. That's an increase of 204,398. We have a couple other things like because we pay the CDA TIF debt out of this fund, we can see the transfer coming in from CDA TIF District 1. And you can see the TIF District 2, there's nothing this year because we just paid off the debt for that October 1st. Total principal is 2.8 million and the interest paid is 1.2. Next slide. Okay, these are the issues for general obligation debt. General obligation debt is the debt that we are able to increase our tax levy to pay for this. So we got a few issues open and those are listed and what those issues were used for. This is a detailed summary of the GO debt issued and the debt schedule for each. So we can issue two different types of debt. General obligation notes, which is 10 years, and then the bonds. So we have general obligation bonds, which is 20 years. Until recently, the village was only able to issue 10-year notes, or they had issued 10-year bonds. Recently, legislation was changed so we could do that. One of the main differences between the notes and the bonds is the regulations and how to spend it and just the regulations of the accounting for the expenditures of that debt. Nothing the board would probably notice, but just on the back half, we have a few more rules to follow. Talk a little bit about the TIF. So this is what's left of the 2017 CDA revenue bond. These are the debt payments. They go through 2031. This graph on the right shows TIF, how it works, talking about the base and then the actual increment. We do plan on paying this debt off early. This is what we need. As soon as we can pay off this debt, we can close the TIF. Obviously, there's 9.8 million left. Depending upon where Schofield or Weston Avenue comes in, we'll be able to pay this off in the next couple of years.
Just a quick question. So that means that we can't close that right now.
But that's not true. It means that I need to see what the total expenditures for Weston Avenue come in at. And if there's enough left over, we can close it.
Okay.
So we'll know by the time we have to send it, is it by April?
April 15th, it's around tax day that.
Yeah, so by April, we will know if we can close the TIF or if we have to keep it open one more year.
I'm just curious, we keep getting hammered on that question on social media. I see that comment time and time and time again on why we aren't closing our TIFs, and I understand. I get where you're coming from, but I think other people don't necessarily understand that.
I don't think they
So-
listen very well, because I really do try to emphasize every time I talk about the TIF, we can close it, but we have this debt, we have this debt. I don't have the money to pay this debt, so we have to wait and see what it's gonna look like. Our increment has dropped tremendously, and I did the calculation, I'm thinking it's gonna be our tax rate, mill rate, gonna be almost $1 less. I'm not writing it down because I don't want to be quoted on that.
I understand.
Significant, it's a significant decrease, like 50 cents for the village. And I think the school district's gonna be about the same. What everybody needs to remember is this tax increment, it's not just we send these property tax bills to everybody in the TIF and then we get that money. There's no way to segregate. Like your tax bill out of the TIF doesn't differentiate from somebody's tax bill in the TIF. It's all has to do with a lot of computations done at the state level and at the municipal finance level that determines these dollar amounts. And with the adjustments at the state level, those calculations have changed dramatically. And our taxpayers, I mean, don't let anyone tell you that our taxpayers out of the TIF don't pay towards the TIF. They do. And it's really going to be transparent this year when we get the tax bills out. Unfortunately, it's a 1-year fluke. They're not going to go up the way that they were in previous years, but we are definitely going to see a slight increase next year. Unfortunately, it's kind of a roller coaster with our tax rate, but we'll see what we can do to kind of lessen that.
It's the same group talking about it.
Mhm.
It's not, thousands, it's not hundreds. And there's never been an article about Weston's TIFs,
Yeah.
in a negative way. And several years ago, when it kind of came to a head, I remember Kristen Fish was here and I remember her saying that they're very successful. And at that time, I think it was at 26 or 28%. And that's magical number of 12% is where they're supposed to be. But it's because they're so successful. And now, I know this last year has been a little rough, but with the down and stuff, but where are we at right now, percentage? Is it still 28 or higher?
Yeah, we're still up there. I guess I
Yeah.
never looked at that
Yeah.
percentage.
So. Yeah, you hear about it, yep, on social media, yep. It's something you talk about.
Yeah, I think no matter what the message is, though, they will close before 2031.
Yep.
So,
Okay.
This is the debt issued by the utilities. All this debt is backed by the revenues from the utilities. It is not levied at all. So it's a combination of GO and revenue bonds from the respective utilities.
Okay.
This is the debt schedule for the utilities. It has it broken out by issue and then the payments detailed out by year. This is general obligation principal and interest levy supported. So this is what I was talking about, the principal and interest that we can levy each year. The red on top shows the interest and the blue is the principal.
Sorry.
So the annual debt payments, this includes both the governmental and the utility funds. It really gives you an idea of how much of the village's money, how much money going out of the village as a whole is going to debt payments.
Questions, anybody?
I'll throw it over to Mike.
oh, you want me to start talking?
Yeah.
Sure. So I guess then when we start talking about our projects within those funds, so we just talked about TIF 1 and TIF 2. So the remaining projects in TIF 1 are, the Weston Avenue projects and then some of the repaving projects that we approved earlier this year. So the last one left there is around the hospital area. And then TIF 2, the only project in there is Schofield Avenue, which will be wrapping up here this fall. So like I said, after this year, we don't have any other projects planned in the TIF, which is why it should be able to close within, I'd say 2 years, if not next year, the year after. So again, to that point, President Maloney, like they've been successful, and because of their success, we were able to, take on these large projects that otherwise would have had to been borrowed for and paid back at higher rates. So we're able to utilize that success to prolong our infrastructure through there. And then the general capital improvement fund is our other local roads, our streets, our facilities, our buildings, whether it's this building, the public safety building, our parks, our well houses, lift stations, and then the equipment. So plow trucks, unloaders, graders, mowers, that type of equipment. So this is kind of the draft plan that we had talked about a little bit with Public Works and Parks over the last couple months. It's probably hard to zoom into there, but really, since we're going to budget this year for 26, 27, we'll be focusing just on those two projects or those 2 years. But kind of gives an overview of where we're at. A lot of the work, as I foresee it in the next 5 years, will be for the most part in the older part of the village, say Camp Phillips West, where we still have our essentially our water main and our underground infrastructure is probably the most vulnerable. So, next slide. So in 2026, we have the Concord and Bayberry corridor, Bladel Avenue, the Jelnick and Alderson intersection. And 27 is Ross Avenue is a joint project with the city of Schofield, where we have the DOT grant funding through, and then another kind of residential area of Fergie, Deloney, and Post Ave, and then Howland Avenue on the south side.
And there's a public information meeting for the Ross Wednesday?
Correct, Wednesday here at 5:30.
5:30, we're Safer's over in building 1.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, these tables are a little hard to see if you can zoom in or look at later. In general, and I guess I'm still going off of discussion and kind of maybe approval we had back in, I think, 2019, which there's different guidance. I just need to know that. Or try not to budget or project more than about $3 million in the general fund in any given year. So if that number needs to be revised or looked at the very bottom row, kind of that general fund projection is where trying to keep us at a sustainable kind of consistent number year over year, so we don't end up with a lot of peaks and valleys. So I guess that has the list of the 26 projects where we have some of our overlays or repaving projects, as Jessica's discussed in the last few meetings. We have taken some of our maintenance projects from previous years and moved them into the capital fund. So that's where those show up here now. Go next. So if anybody has any questions about the actual projects, I can go over them, but Concord Avenue, just across the street here. It's really just poor pavement. It's high, heavy truck use. It's very narrow roads. The semis consistently drive off the shoulder, which causes the pavement to break down at the edge. And then the shoulders are a mismatch of anywhere from about 4 feet wide to probably 15 plus in some areas. So we'll be looking at improving that roadway corridor for the trucks. Probably not a great way to do it. It's an older warehousing corridor, so the setbacks, the semis frequently have to utilize the road to back into those loading docks, because a lot of times when they're in the loading dock, they're maybe only 10 feet off the edge of the road. So we'll have to work with that. And then there is some lack of storm sewer and drainage, especially with all the rooftops and parking lots out there. So we'll be looking at trying to figure out how to capture that a little better. So during those peak rain events, we don't end up with flooding through there.
Yeah, I just was wondering, what are you gonna be doing with Woodland Drive?
Oh, with Woodland, that'd just be more of a repaving project.
Because that road is pretty,
It's pretty poor.
yeah. And sometimes I take a shortcut to get to the Y and I'm not sure I want to go on that road because it's really,
Yeah, so that'd be more of falling into that kind of repaving well, not an overlay, but that'd be a repaving project where we'd kind of grind up what's there. There's probably several there soft spots as we'd refer to them, where it's
yeah.
more or less topsoil stumps that were dumped from the ditches into the middle of the road. And then, so we'd remove those and build it back up and,
'Cause that's kind of a wet type area back and through there. So,
yeah.
yeah, I seen where you had it colored and I couldn't recognize the color. It was more of an.
So some of those are just kind of we know it's on the radar and when we can kind of schedule it in
Got
there.
it To the years though, so the.
Yeah, so we
years
put a
go
year
down,
to
yeah.
it, so we kind of,
Okay, and back to Concord, are we gonna, beef it up a bit?
yeah,
And are we gonna have cement sides?
we're gonna have to do something on the sides,
I
yeah.
mean, not curb, but I mean, at least maybe like these new curbing that we have, on some of the different areas, I think that would just seal those.
Yeah,
I don't know what you would do after that, I mean, do they not, drive on the grass? Are you gonna widen that road?
I think we'll have to. I don't see any other option.
I agree. It is a really bad road. And I mean, you go in there at 8:39 in the morning and there's 10, 15 semis waiting to deliver and waiting in line to deliver.
Yeah, and with the bus traffic then on this end too,
It takes a beating.
yeah.
Okay. Good.
And yeah, Bladel Avenue, kind of the connection between wells 1 and 5, so well 5's on Bladel, well 1's within Kennedy Park there, so we'd be looking to run a new water main over to Bladel from Alta Verde, so in the future, when we have the treatment plant there for PFAS, iron manganese, we'll be able to pump water, raw water, as we refer to it as, over to Bladel for treatment before it went out into the system. So that requires us to get that underground infrastructure taken care of, now. And then replace the existing AC water main on Bladel and upsize it so it can be a larger transmission main for the future use. And then again, general street drainage improvements throughout that corridor. Can move to the next one unless people have questions on Bladel.
So, Michael, when is the treatment plant gonna go in for those wells? Could you go back to that?
Yeah, so for those wells, that would happen. Let's see, well 3 will be under construction next year. I guess that'll come back to one, when the PFAS requirements will be hard and fast set. Right now, it looks like 2030. So
For those area?
for the treatment, so once well 3 is up, we either can kind of shut those down or we'd pump them as a kind of emergency area. Because the whole network is connected. It's not as segmented as, if you want to go back a slide, Jamie.
Or those wells are feeding the business area, correct?
Well, yeah, I mean, they feed the system, so the property's closer to it, get that. So what I'm saying is we can change their sequence in the entire pumping for the entire network. So they might only, you'd stage it so as your water towers get lower, they call out to the well, say, hey, I'm low on water, fill me up. So we can make it so wells 7 and 8, 3 and 4 would come on first. They would fill up the towers more. And then those wells 5 and 1 would be the kind of that emergency, kind of top it off at the, during peak times. So we'd be looking to reduce,
In their water,
what was that?
they see improvement in their water in that business district?
Yeah, as soon as we can get 3 and 4 back online, well, 4 should be back online actually in about 2 weeks. That will be reducing and continue to reduce our need on those 2 wells in the interim here. So that we don't have to, use the wells with the higher iron manganese content in it out to the public. And I guess part of that falls into 2 is the, how much do we want to stress, I shouldn't say stress, increase the revenues to pay for the water treatment. I think we can modify some of the pumping, as long as the demand doesn't change a whole lot in the next few years, so that we're not, you know, we'll have a $3.5 million project that'll be on this week's or this month's agenda for the board for well 3. Granted, we should get some safe drinking water funding for that. But after that project, our safe drinking water funding will be maxed out as far as principal forgiveness. So, you know, that'll be then a balance of how much would we want to look at increasing rates for building the water treatment plant at Bladel right away versus, you know, maybe pausing for a year or two and trying to get some of the other debt taken care of.
Because this water costs a lot of money to the business district. Some of those water heaters is about $10,000, $15,000 by the time they install it and everything else with it. So I think we should help them out because they pay their share, they pay their dues.
And that's why what I'm saying is with the other wells going online, that water will be iron-free, manganese-free, I guess PFAS-free. So we can essentially make it so those 2 wells don't pump. We'll run them at what is minimally required to meet DNR requirements for them being in service, but we wouldn't utilize them like they are currently as part of the first on, last off type of well. It'd be the last one on, the first one off.
So it's gonna last until 2030.
It's whatever we want to decide on. I would say we'd start planning for it sooner, but
I think we should organize it and plan for it,
yep,
not to wait until to get last minute and start hairy.
correct. Yeah, no, I mean, we'd start the design. It's just a matter of when we would want to start incurring that cost of the construction. So we haven't really done as we get through our PFAS funding and our projects here, we should revisit, you know, kind of redo our master plan and redo a rate kind of review to make sure that we're taking on the right projects and we're staying as affordable as we can be, I guess.
Well, let's talk about it next meeting, put it on the agenda. We can start talking about it and continue talking about it until we accomplish.
No, and we have been. I thought we've been doing that throughout. I was trying to pull up my other CIP quick because I want to say I have those wells are listed as a project coming up here. So I have it
This
as
would be the
blue.
first step of that regardless. right?
Yeah,
We
so
need to do
yeah,
the
correct. Yeah,
infrastructure.
so if we don't do this step, then we're really kind of putting ourselves behind. So
You need to connect the 2 through the infrastructure.
yeah, so I have it as a 2029 project as I look at it here. So, you know, next year's 26. And that'd be, I guess, not that far down the road.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have one more question.
Oh, go ahead.
How much more AC pipe left in there?
We probably have about 10 miles.
Is our water?
Yes. Or at least 10 miles of water main. We probably have some that's sanitary as well, but I guess that's why I said the majority of our projects over the next 5 years are gonna be west of Camp Phillips, mainly west of Alderson Street in the older part of the distribution system there.
I knew there was some left. I didn't know it's 10 miles.
Yeah, well, we were at 14 not that long ago, so we're making progress.
Yeah. Let's do a little bit every year.
Yeah, that's the goal. So I mean, next year would be the Bladel Avenue, 27, it's that Fergie, Deloney, Post Avenue area. So then we'll start getting into the Everest edition between the junior high, senior high. So yeah, that's the goal, is to keep getting that out of the system at about a mile or so a year.
Thank you.
And then the other, I guess, major street project in 26 is the Alderson Jelnik intersection. So it's kind of a draft there, but I'm looking to essentially duplicate the Weston and Alderson intersection at Jelnik and Alderson.
You know, the word mini is used there.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can see the word mini on Western and Alderson, but boy, this intersection. I mean, is it that will handle the capacity of cars and traffic?
Yeah. I mean,
All right.
It's the same concept, it's just the radius is a little tighter. We start running into issues trying to get that, a bigger roundabout in there with right of way and the creek and some other, concerns there.
Which one is that?
Jelnik and Alderson. So the Kennedy Parks to the northwest or the top left, the admin buildings on that south. Kind of where the D is in the word draft.
Do they have enough land?
Yeah, so really if you can kind of tell, we're really pushing it almost into that corner of Kennedy Park. So that the storm pond from the admin building doesn't have to get changed, and that duplex lot on the southeast corner really doesn't have to get touched. So,
But, yeah, and the administration building, there's a little bit of land there, but on Kennedy, where Kennedy, senior living used to be, which is a little different.
Someone just made a
I mean,
comment.
are they ever gonna use any of that out in that corner?
well, several years ago, there was plans that they had, so.
There's a lot of talk with that developer, so maybe. Never know. Okay.
We also did talk to the school district about the roundabout too, so they are aware.
I thought they said you can do whatever you want to, we don't have any objection.
I know they were supportive of the construction, so.
Correct.
They didn't say you can do whatever you want to, but they were supportive of it.
Well, It is our road, really, I mean, not part of the school, but I understand what you're saying.
They are one of the major traffic generators there and,
Yes,
so. Yeah, and then in 27, like I said. Again, trying to just keep it kind of around that 3 million mark, as we get better scoping on some of these projects and into design, we'll revisit the estimates, but. It's just I guess a target there to try to concentrate on. The big project in 27 will be the Ross Ave Metro to Alderson section. So, and there we do have, I guess, a joint agreement with the city of Schofield and I think that was about 2.6 million in DOT funding.
is that cover the roundabout at Alderson and Ross also? I
Correct,
didn't
yeah,
know we're putting in there one.
The two of them.
it's two of them.
Yeah, two.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you go to the next slide. Why did those all cover up text? Anywho, yeah, so the west end there, that one at Metro Drive is a little more of an egg shape. Just
I
to-
don't know why they do that. Did DOT approve that?
Yeah. Otherwise, there's gonna be houses that were gonna be purchased and the city of Schofield wasn't as, the houses were all in the city of Schofield.
I'm thinking about that semi truck got to turn about that X-shaped roundabout.
Yeah. It actually makes it really easy for them to do the right turn off of Metro onto Ross and then the far one. I know we went over that a couple months ago at Public Works. The normal semi can make that turn, and then like when Merrill Steel has like an oversized beam, they would potentially cut it short, but they have to do all kinds of special things at other locations. So as long as the truck can move, they're good because they're used to removing signs in other areas. You know, they've moved traffic lights in other spots to get their shipments in and out. So they said as long as, you know, if a sign's in a sleeve and then all you have to do is remove a few bolts, they're happy to pop those out and then put them back. So.
Any questions?
I have a quick one. What's with there's this that grade jog through Crystal's.
Oh, so
Market. What is that?
That's a temporary road that we're
Okay.
looking at. So
Got it.
while that intersection's under construction, they'll still be able to get in and out there.
Well, is that gonna create the same issue that we had in that area before they put up the stop signs? When Jarb or Greenheck or whoever gets out over there, it's a constant stream, and if you're on a side road trying to get out of, say, I'm trying to think what street. the traffic, you don't get out.
I don't understand.
I think it's actually gonna help.
Oh,
I
this is
think
gonna
it's-
help big
I
time,
think it's gonna help
Yeah.
at the peak
Yeah.
hour, the peak times.
big time.
I mean, when I've been out there a few times, like at the metro intersection, talking to those residents at, shift change. And I mean, it was almost this line of cars from Metro Drive all the way east to Alderson Street. I think I counted at least 30 cars in line. So I think.
They'll just continue moving.
Yeah, and it was only cars stopping to turn left onto Metro for the most part. So instead of just being able to have a continuous stream of that, they pulled up, they stopped to their credit. And then turned, and then intermittently you maybe had one or two cars coming from the other direction, but. It was just a long line of vehicles, and then a semi also would approach trying to turn right, and those cars would all be snuck up too far. And then, it was the whole you go, no, you go, and eventually, the semi would make its turn onto Metro or off of Metro. So this should help with that flow.
They won't be standing.
Yeah.
Is that grant applied from Metro to Alderson all the way?
Correct, yeah, it's for both intersections and everything in between.
Okay.
Okay,
And then the kind of the neighborhood street there, Fergie Deloney Post. So again, that's replacing the AC water main. The sanitary sewer under Fergie is actually a dual sanitary main that I guess conveys the majority of the wastewater flow into Business 51. So all of Schofield Ave comes down Normandy over to Post and then down Fergie. So making sure we keep that area flowing, otherwise probably about 35% of our sewage flows through that area. And then there's intermittent pedestrian accommodations. There's some sidewalk, then there's no sidewalk. So kind of be looking at making those connections in the areas where it makes sense there. And the street itself is just generally in poor condition.
any questions? None?
And then Howland Avenue is just, that'd be mainly a pavement replacement project where it's rough if you've been over there. There's a lot of pavement patches. It's another area where it seems like the subgrade just wasn't adequately put in when the road was last done, so. Just trying to get that fixed.
Is that Sternberg gonna be on the program sometime? From Municipal Street to Mesker? With all that truck beginning in there for FedEx?
Yeah, so that'd be probably just a pulverize and repave out. That's ductile main, it's PVC pipe.
Is that pavement thick enough? Right now, it's probably about 3 inches.
Yeah, I mean, we'd probably pulverize it, add some base and then repave over the top of it.
With a thicker pavement.
Yeah, I'd have to look back. I'm guessing that pavement's probably about 35-ish years old.
Yes, there was no traffic in there, so
Yeah,
that was okay, but right now, you got FedEx in there, plus the other warehouse in there, and then you have the safety building.
yeah. Yeah, I guess part of me, to be perfectly honest, was waiting to see what was gonna happen at the old municipal center site before we redo a road that maybe has to change quickly, so.
Just real quick, is Portage County doing all the striping right now? up here? Okay.
I think today should have been their last day
Yeah,
here.
I just saw a lot of equipment with Portage on here, so. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Okay, going back to the CIP, was there any more discussion on the projects that were proposed and in the plan right now? What we're looking at doing is sending that to Greg at Ellers and having him work up the financing for us and see what it would look like. Obviously, before any borrowing or any projects get bid, we'll bring everything back here, get it approved. But right now, those are the projects that we're looking at sending to Greg to see what the debt schedules would look like and the payment plans.
I looked back last year and we did take a vote for the next year's CIP and maybe we would do that in October along with reviewing the public hearing, so That would give you some time to digest it too, but then we would look for an actual motion for those 2 years that we're.
Okay.
Now, what was the increase? I was trying to look here. As far as the debt services.
The debt service increase for this year was 204,000. It's on page 3.
Okay.
So that increase does not have any new debt into it right now. We'll talk to Greg, see what it looks like. We'll also work with Michael to see when we need to take out that debt. If it can wait till summer or fall of next year, or do we need to take it out in the spring? We can see when that all comes up. That depends on when our first debt payment would be. So, and maybe we need to work something into this current 2026 budget. That would, I mean, right now it wouldn't be a bad thing. It would get a jump start, lower the interest payments if we would have one right away. Our principal payment this fall, depending upon when we take it out.
Into 2025.
Yeah, into 2025. I said 23. I want to go back.
The other thing I'll just mention is that this doesn't take into, we have a placeholder. Safer has their capital plan and a placeholder for Mountain Bay. There isn't a larger placeholder for any building construction in here. That hasn't been a request from the Mountain Bay Board. I want to be clear on that too. We haven't received a request from the Mountain Bay Board, but if we would borrow for the 2 years, this wouldn't include that.
So
The reason why we do two years is the cost of debt. Issuing debt is not cheap. If you looked at the payments that went to Ellers and the payments that went to Quarles for bond council, it's expensive. Another option we can do is look at our local banks and see if we can borrow from them. It's always a comparison, right? When you go out on the open market for people to bid for your debt, you usually get a better rate. Our local banks have been very competitive, so it's something we could look into. Also, when looking at that, we'd still work with Ellers. Does a really good financial planning for us. They punch all the numbers in and give us great estimates of what it could look like and how to structure. So
I mean, are we paying down enough of the debt to keep the borrowing? I mean, that we,
well, if you
I
look
mean,
at-
you said 204.
look at page 3, the total principal paid is 2.8 million. But that did include, you didn't see that, but that does have the CDA debt in there. So go to the next page, go to page 5. The principal paid off in 2026 is 1.5 million. So at this point, if we were to issue another 3 million next year, it's kind of equal because 3 millions for 2 years, 1.5, and we're paying off 1.5. So we're not paying it down.
Right, but I think at one time we had talked of us trying to keep the debt level kind of constant, with, as we pay down, that we could borrow,
Yeah, that's why the principal is 1.5 in 26, 1.4 in 28, and it goes down. There's a hiccup here. In 2020, that's the principal. I would have to do the totals. I think that's on the next 2 slides.
Well, I know we had talked about, we didn't want the yo-yo effect where it was going up and down, that it was.
If you go to the graphs.
Yeah,
I
the
guess-
graph on page 10, you can see the total interest and principal paid every year.
Mhm.
So it does go down, not significantly, but
I just was kind of wondering how we were, with the, trying to keep it, more of a flat, not the, I know you can't do it, absolutely flat, but it just.
Okay.
We're talking about the general fund next. We got a snapshot on the one with the blue top. That's a snapshot of the actual levy limit worksheet that I fill out online. We're looking at the total 26 payable and 26 allowable levy of 8,136,423. That includes our operations and debt. For our 2025 levy, we're looking at levying 5,733,358 for our general fund. That's an increase of 131,391. The pool, we're keeping the same at $40,000. Debt service is going up approximately 204. That's what we're budgeting right now, unless we change anything. And then the TIF, that's the big decrease, $1.1 million decrease for our TIF levy, for a total levy of 9.533. As I said before, estimating approximate reduction of 50 cents for our mill rate for the village of Weston only. Next page, this is a summary of what the current general fund budget is. So we are balanced. It's an increased budget change of 2.65%, 249,368. So let's go to the next page and we can talk more about that. This is where we were at last time we met. We had an increase of 3.84%, 361,984. Now we went down to 249,368. So where are the changes? The biggest change you will notice is Safer. Safer decreased. They were at approximately 360,000, and their now increases 186. Majority of that is the hiring of just the 3 additional people. And we also had really good news on health insurance, which also decreased their budget. Josh, do you want to talk any more about your budget decrease?
Excuse me. Yeah, I think you covered it for the most part. Basically, like Jessica said, it's the 3 additional firefighters instead of the 9. So a pretty big difference there. And then the health insurance cost did come in about 3% lower than than I was originally budgeting for. And then basically every other thing that we could possibly cut was cut. So other than that, I mean, obviously the biggest change was the wages for the additional staff.
Your board still needs to approve that on Wednesday.
Correct.
Yeah, but that's what. But we still will see likely a recommendation back from Safer Board at the next meeting.
Okay. Where did the insurance come in at?
It was like 1.5% less, but we'll be talking about it with staff, but they are gonna be doing a tier system, which allowed them to cut rates, which was good to be less.
Wow.
Go back up there and talk about the changes again a little bit more. So if you look at the revenues with a significant decrease, one of the things I changed was the applied fund balance. So originally we were proposing $150,000 to be applied, and now we only got $50,000 applied. I did adjust, so as you remember, we talked about the payment in lieu of taxes. So this tax that the water utility collects through all the rates from its customers pays the general fund. That's that's over $400,000. That is totally dependent upon the rate. And I just told you our rates dropping. So the money that we'll be getting from the water utility will be decreasing. So I had to take that into account. Should have run it through a formula. I kind of guesstimated I have a 30,000 decrease in the budget. The budget wasn't exactly up to the actual, so I kind of decreased it a little bit. And I'm hoping that'll be pretty close to on. With the interest rates, I decreased my budget for that too. Knowing I had a little bit of wiggle room to do that, I thought, I'm not sure with the threat of future decreases, even in this year yet, I lowered the budgeted revenue for interest income. So those were the changes majority of the changes I made on top. And the bottom, like we said before, the health insurance and then safer coming in lower. Okay, next. This is just for your own information. It goes department by department in the decreases that you can see. Some of the things besides the expenditures with the safer, I did bring back some things. You can see the $15,000 increase in IT. I shoved those computers over to capital when we needed to make budget. Rationalizing that the computers are more than just a one-year thing. So if we needed to borrow for them, we could do that. But that's not really advised to borrow for computers. They're more of a operations thing. So we pulled those back into the general fund. So you'll see that. And we also pulled back some of our street maintenance. We pulled back $50,000 of street maintenance. Basically looking to the future when we need to make budget again, that's $50,000 in general fund that we can kick out in the future when we need to balance our budget. So we undid a couple things we did to balance it, knowing that we had a little bit more room. So if you have any other questions on the changes, let me know.
Questions? Right now? No.
We'll post this PowerPoint too on the website like we have with the other ones tomorrow morning.
Okay.
But good news on the 150 to only 50,000 of applied fund balance. It's still applied fund balance, but it's a big difference.
That's something too in the future. I'm thinking out loud, but do we not want to borrow as much? We keep talking about using our fund balance for operations, which really is not recommended because it puts you in a hole for the following years. But if we want to transfer over to capital sometime, that can help lower the borrowing. That's something we should probably talk about in the future too. We don't need the large fund balance that we have, but to help offset future borrowing, that would give some relief to the taxpayers also. This year, I don't think it's necessarily needed. I'd like to save some of the good for in the future when we need it, but it's always something that we need to keep looking at what we do now, how does that affect the future?
Any questions? Okay. Good presentation.
Thank you.
Very good.
So from here, we have next, the regular meeting on the 20th. Jessica would bring back the public hearing notice just for review. After that public hearing notice would be published the week after to meet the statutory deadline. And then budget hearing and approval would be at the November meeting, the regular third Monday of the month. So if there would be any changes or suggestions or comments that would, between now and the 20th, would be the ideal time.
Sure.
Because I missed the last meeting, my question is, where is the fire fee as far as? I know you looked at the ordinance, and everything.
It's on the agenda.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that later, and Attorney Edie's gonna join us because he was looking at that legal review, but at this moment, we are balanced without the fire fee.
Thank you.
Okay,
That was my question.
moving on. Old business? Okay. Old business 6, discussion and interaction on 2026 refuse and recycling special charge amount.
For the packet, you'll see a couple different versions I used. The request from the last meeting, we did 204, 205.5, and then 205. So you can see the effect on the fund balance for each of those. As a reminder, there are a lot of estimated numbers in there.
Go in some of
So
those.
what you see in there is not gonna be the actual impact to the funds. It's solely estimated and budgeted. So, to the best of our knowledge, that's what we're estimating.
Would like to.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just because I was reading some of the remarks that were made, and part one of it was the refuse and recycling, and I guess I would like, when the refuge and recycling was first brought to the tax roll, if you will, it was discussed whether or not we wanted to put it on the levy or have it as a special charge. And we determined that it was more fair by special charge because people with a nicer home, nice big house, if we did it as part of the tax levy, would be paying more for garbage than a person with a smaller home. And we thought this was more equitable. I wasn't on the board, but I was either clerk or treasurer, one of those. That it was more equitable to have it as a special charge. So everybody was paying the same rate. And there was some comment on one of the people on Facebook or wherever about, why we don't have, why we have it as a special charge. And that is why, because if otherwise people with bigger homes would pay more for garbage than those with smaller homes.
Yeah, some businesses paying for garbage too.
Well, yeah, but I mean, if you, that's what the idea was, that yes, there was some difference in rates, but the general idea was all homeowners would pay the same for garbage pickup, not based on their house size.
And that's one aspect. I mean, it's not public safety, it's not public works, so a bigger home pays more taxes than a smaller
Well,
home
yes.
across the board
Well,
for all
yes,
those services. Yet you're all getting the same. I mean, you're getting the same police service, the same fire service, the same public works,
right, but
the
that
same
was.
snow plowing, yet none of those are fees, but this one is different. So,
Mhm.
this one, I feel like some people are thinking that this rate increase or this fee increase is because we switched, and it's not. We actually went with a lesser, Harder's is $300,000 less. And so we would even be higher if we were stayed with Waste Management
Over the course of the 7
over the
years.
course of the 7 years, correct? So, yeah, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, our contract is only for, what is it, Valerie, 1 to 3 units? 1 to 4 units, so,
We'd almost have to service all the.
right, commercial, everybody else. So we don't do apartment buildings. They don't get to partake in drop-off
Right.
events or you guys
Yard
don't
waste.
pick up yard waste for them. So I just want everyone to realize that it's only
Yes.
to 4 units.
Right.
Okay.
So we would be looking for a motion tonight on setting that rate, if we wanted to do the 204, the 205.50, or the 205.
204.
So I have a,
I want to make sure, 204,
204,
205,
205.50, or 205. Annually.
$204, $205, and $205.50.
Yes.
Those are 3 different rates. Okay.
But when you multiply them by the total number of
I know, I know
they're
that. I know.
huge
Yes.
differences,
Yep.
10,000, 3,000, or 5,000
Mhm.
decrease.
So the lowest one is 204, 205, and 205.50.
Correct. And your current Rate is the
It's one-
167.
167, correct. Any thoughts? Somebody want to get this on the floor?
You know, you don't have to pick any of those either. If you want a different rate, we can do that. It's
Mhm.
what the board, if you wanna say. I don't think you can go, I don't know if I'd go much under 203. We need to make sure we are able, cause you might be coming back the very next year because garbage will go up. It will go up no more than 5, correct?
More than 5.
No more than 5, but no less than 3.
So that was gonna be my question. So at 205.50, it looks like we're still $30,000 underfunded. Is that correct? So does that come from fund balance?
Yeah,
To
and like I
compensate?
said, these are estimated. We always like to budget high for curbside pickup, cause you never know what's gonna happen.
Brush and,
So,
yes.
so 206 would not be underfunded,
Right.
another dollar, or actually another 50 cents,
Yeah, if you were
For
to
the whole
do
year.
another 50
one
cents.
time, 50
One-
cents,
one time.
2 quarters. Okay.
What's our fund balance at right now?
I gotta see what it's projected. Let me pull that up. So one of the things that we always get comments on with this fund is that we have a large fund balance, and we do have a large fund balance because we collect our taxes at the beginning of the year. With that, we had at one point $600,000 in our fund balance, but that's because taxes are recorded in January, and then each month we use about 57,000.
Well, now I know we get recycling grants and that, how is that applied?
That's in the revenue, so if you look at the spreadsheet, you can kind of see it's the hauler's annual expense. Then I have curbside pickup, yard waste. And other revenues, see that $79,000? That's a grant.
So correct me if I'm wrong though, like, so with the fund balance, let's just say, for example, Michael, that we had a situation that northern Wisconsin had where we got walloped with an ice storm and you got trees and limbs down everywhere that we have to go clean up. That's why you want that reserve, correct?
Yeah.
Because
Big time.
that's not a
Big
small amount of money to go around.
Big
And I
time.
mean, if we ever get hit with a bad storm like that, that's not a cheap fix.
6, yep.
2,000 in our fund balance right now. That's our estimate where we're gonna be. Granted, we don't have our fall pickup done yet. So that will not be 152,000, but that's what we have estimated at.
Yeah, so we're very consistent for the past 7 years. The thought of if you go lower, you don't want to have to take a big jump in 1 year. So having some kind of a middle balance. So if you do have to take a jump, maybe it's 50 cents or $1, but not $5 or $10.
And right now you're estimating that it would be, if we did the 205.50, that it would be underfunded by 3,000, but that's not guaranteed either.
No.
I mean, we may not go that high, correct?
We always are very conservative in our budget, so it more than likely won't be losing fund balance, but it could.
Okay.
Motion.
I'll make a motion to set the rate at 205.50.
There's a motion made by Cronin to set the rate at 205.50. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Lopez. Any more discussion? Any more discussion? I hear, yep, go ahead.
Sorry.
Yep.
I think it's just important that we reiterate that this is not a new fee. This is something we've already been paying. It's just gotta go up because our cost is going up. We haven't gone up in several years. And hopefully some of our other costs are gonna be coming down. So, I think this is something that we can stomach.
Any more discussion?
I guess I just add the existing contract was up, it was expiring,
Yes,
so it
After
wasn't.
7 years.
Yeah, so it wasn't a, all of a sudden we chose, hey, we want to switch providers now. It was, our contract is up and we need to get a new one.
And we bid it.
This was the best option.
And if you pay attention to the news, other local municipalities near us are going through the same thing and dealing with rate increases as well.
And this new contractor is cheaper than what the old one would have been.
Correct.
All right, hearing no more discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Thank you. Discussion interaction on potential implementation of an annual fire fee. Thank you, Valerie.
Attorney Edie, do you want to come up and join us at the table?
Sure.
So we have already covered that we did not receive the SAFER grant. So we are within the budget proposing the 3 positions be added to SAFER, which would come forward from their board likely after their meeting this week. But Attorney Edie did some research about what's happening with fire fees across the state. And I think we just wanted to talk a little bit more about what that means and how that potentially would impact our discussion. But like Barb's question a little bit earlier, and what I had mentioned is the budget is balanced at this point without the fire fee. And we would be putting forth the public hearing notice and talking about it at the public hearing without that fire fee. Unless the board feels differently after our discussion tonight, one way or the other, we are balanced. Take it away, Attorney Edie.
All right, well, I took a look at the fire fee and I discovered that there is a lawsuit going on right now involving the same ordinance that we're thinking about enacting. So, I think it's important that I bring that to your attention. Anyone with a filing fee can file a lawsuit. So just because a lawsuit's filed doesn't mean that it's gonna win. But there are several parties, including the Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce, Inc., who filed a lawsuit against the village of Dousman and the village of Pewaukee to have the court essentially enjoin them from their ordinances that impose a fire tax under a couple of different arguments. One is that they claim that the villages don't have the authority to do it. And the second is they say it's a tax, not a fee. And so they say it's an illegal tax disguised as a fee. And I talked to the lawyer representing the village of Dousman and the village of Pewaukee, and he was kind enough to share with me their summary judgment motion. Both sides have, the lawsuit was filed. The plaintiff, which is the Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce, Inc., filed a motion for summary judgment on September 5th. The defendants, Village of Dousman, Village of Pewaukee, filed a motion for summary judgment on September 15th. So both sides are moving for summary judgment, which means that a judge is likely going to decide the case without a trial. There's a motion hearing scheduled for November 3 of 25. And I would expect that that's probably when the judge will make a decision. And then, of course, it'll get appealed at least once. And the Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce, Inc., I read their brief and their complaint. It's on their website. So they're out there, trying to let everyone know what they're doing with respect to this lawsuit. And so I just wanted to bring that to your attention. I've reviewed everything and I certainly could talk to you in more detail in closed session about my thoughts about things. I certainly don't want to talk in open session about information that the Village of Dousman and Village of Pewaukee's council has told me in confidence. So there's a lawsuit out there. We're looking at the same ordinance. You've got a League of Municipalities attorney opinion that's many years old that says that a village can do what you're trying to do. and there's support from a case involving a town that would be directly on point with what you're trying to do. The only difference being it's a town, not a village. So that's what I wanted to report to you about, so you could take all that into account to decide what you want to do.
So we're talking about a like ordinance, but are we also talking about somewhat what we talked about on calculations? Are the calculations close to? Or are the calculations much higher for the business, commerce, you know, where we're looking, you know, we've had some issues with some of the residents saying that the business should have to pay more. And I think some of our calculations had some numbers from $800 to $2,000. Is that also like with these two municipalities, or is it much, much higher for the businesses?
Well, you know, I think that the reason for the lawsuit was just because, you know, they had more clients, I think, in that area that wanted to stop this, because there were other municipalities that have done it as well. They could have filed a lawsuit in all of the different, against all of the different municipalities that have ordinances like this. The Dousman one was modeled after the Ottawa ordinance, and Ottawa hasn't been sued yet.
It's also a town too.
Yeah.
And they're not arguing that towns can't.
Okay.
Well, Dousman is, you know, Dousman did more like what I think we're trying to do based on, you know, square footage. Pewaukee hired Baker Tilly to put together an analysis for, you know, what the experience has been for fire and EMS calls with different kinds of properties. And then they tried to proportion the fee based on the responses that they've had. So they've dug a little bit deeper into having an analysis done like that. They sued them both though, right? I mean, it doesn't matter what the ordinance says. I think, you know, with respect to the Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce Act, they're going to oppose any ordinance that imposes a fee for fire service across the board, if you're a village. Again, it's, I think what we would want to do is, you know, put together a fee that accurately and proportionally, I guess, represents what we believe the cost should be across the board. A lot of these municipalities decided to do the fee because they could charge all property owners, including nonprofits. And so that's, again, part of the argument by the Wisconsin manufacturers is they say it's a violation of the Wisconsin state law by taxing a nonprofit. But the municipalities in their arguments for summary judgment say, well, that's the best way to proportion, you know, the costs out to everybody that benefits from this service that's available to them. So,
Can I ask the question if the question was asked to the public, because the Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce talk about that one municipality asked in referendum, the referendum failed, they implemented the fire fee. The other municipality implemented the fire fee because they were concerned the referendum may not pass. If we ask the referendum question, are you supportive of a fire fee? And that would pass. Do you think that would change the conversation with this summary brief, because we've asked whether or not the fee is acceptable to the community?
yeah, I don't think so. I think it's either a tax or a fee. And the cases, there are cases out there, you know, the Dousman case, the town of Horde case, you know, which says it's a fee. So, but they take issue with that and they want to take another stab at it. And, you know, they make arguments that a judge could accept. They talk about a tax being something that that benefits an entire group, and a fee is something that benefits a person. And so that's how they're trying to set up their argument for why this is really just a hidden fee. But again, I think that this isn't the first time that this issue has been before the court, and the court has said that fire services are services that you can charge a fee for in cases involving towns. And the argument is, well, the village has greater powers than a town does. So why can't a village do that?
Same thing, yep.
How is this different than we were just talking about a garbage fee? How's it different than a garbage fee or a stormwater fee or any of the other list of fees that are charged? Why is it different because it's a fire fee?
Well, I think they would say that, each individual property has garbage that gets picked up. And so it's really a fee that the person whose garbage is picked up has to pay versus a service that is provided to the whole community. But I mean, that's what they would argue in response to that. Not that I agree with their arguments, but that's how they would look at that.
So like a usage fee. So the garbage is a usage fee, having a building, paying a fee for a building or a new home construction, that's a fee because you're using it. But fire, it's out there and you may never use it, but it's there in case you have to.
It's there 24/7.
24/7.
Right? Somebody has to be ready.
Right.
There's a fire. So you're paying for the service as someone being ready.
Mhm.
And again, there's cases involving water. The water has to be available. So everybody has to pay for the water. So, there are more cases that I think support the fee being allowable than there are cases that would say the other way. But it's litigation and anything can happen. And I don't know that we would be drawn into it, but I certainly wouldn't want to, dare them to file a lawsuit against you either by saying anything, that would encourage them to do that, right?
Right.
But I think that, why they would file more than one lawsuit, it really wouldn't make sense. They have one that's already in the pipeline and it's gonna go up and the court's gonna decide one way or the other. And if the court says you can't do it anymore, then I think most of the municipalities are gonna change their ordinances on their own. And if it says they can, then they're gonna go away.
So the two lawsuits that are out there are both with villages or one with village, one with town?
No, it's just one lawsuit.
Oh, one lawsuit.
It's one lawsuit, brought by
I think you said Dousman and Pewaukee.
4 plaintiffs against the village of Dousman and village of Pewaukee.
Oh, okay.
The defense tried to sever the lawsuit. They wanted to have this be 2 lawsuits because the ordinances are different. But the judge decided to keep it together so far.
Okay, Steve, do you have a question?
I was just gonna say, I mean, you talked about a user fee. I mean, the commercial properties use our services twice a year when they come inspect, when we inspect their property. So I mean, there's something to be said about that too.
No, I like that. That was one of the arguments I brought up with the gentleman that represents the defendants in the case, and he hadn't thought about that. But you're right, you're already providing a service by inspecting, all your commercial properties. But I think the case law pretty well says that if you have a 24/7 fire department that's ready to go when necessary, that's a service that's benefiting all the properties that are eligible and, for that service. So.
I believe the fire district that is connected to these two communities in regards to talking about inspections, charges for inspections as well. A pretty large amount of money.
If the finding by the judge though is for the plaintiffs, that applies to Waukesha County. That wouldn't apply statewide. I understand the implications because they'll point back to that case.
Well, it's gonna go up to the Court of Appeals and or the Supreme Court. So a judge making a decision at the circuit court level doesn't mean anything to anyone except for the parties that are involved in that case. So, and in fact, I wouldn't even probably put a lot of, no matter what the judge did, it wouldn't really change my thoughts on what will happen at the next level, because that's really where you're gonna, have some binding precedent. And it's really, an issue of law. There isn't any facts in dispute here. The ordinance says what it does. Either you can do it or you can't. So it's really a case that should get up there quickly, but nothing happens quickly in the law. Quickly is, you know, a year after the judge's decision, the next court might give you a decision by then. And then if it's petitioned to the Supreme Court, that could be another year, year and a half too. So you're looking at multiple years before you know, you'll have an answer to the question unless the legislature does something and makes it clear whether you can or you can't do it. So.
Michael's got a question.
but
I guess I just quickly pulled up this Pewaukee one. They mentioned that they're a fire and EMS protection fee. And I believe we were looking at strictly fire. Does that change if it's not fire and EMS?
Not based on the position taken by the Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce Inc. They believe basically that fire service, EMT service, it is a service that's provided to the general public and is something that should be paid by the general tax levy and is not anything appropriate for charging fees. That's really their position in a nutshell. And it really doesn't matter how you're gonna word it or say it, at least to them. I think they believe it's just an added tax, a hidden tax.
any more discussion?
We just wanted to,
Yep.
we had
I agree.
forwarded it to Attorney Edie, so we wanted to kind of bring it full circle and back. I don't necessarily need a decision tonight, but I think that we need to talk about whether at this meeting or future, kind of, what do we view as next steps?
Go ahead.
Being that you said the budget is balanced with the fire department, I assume. Then would we be planning on having a referendum in April?
That would be a conversation that the board would have to have. That we'd have to bring back the resolution and go through the process to.
Right, and keep it moving, and then you can deal with the fire fee after that if it need be.
And that's also, I don't know that it would be different, but again, Safer's board would still need to approve that budget to bring back, I don't want to speak for their board, but that we've put the three, Jess has the three added staff in the
The
budget.
Safer board meets Wednesday at 5:30 this week. So
In the Wisconsin Manufacturer and Commerce, they try to make a big deal out of the failed referendum too. So, you tried to, get more tax money, you couldn't get it, it failed, so now you're trying to do this, as a hidden tax essentially. So, so that argument's gonna be there if you have a referendum and it fails, it's gonna be there anyway.
I was just
Because
gonna say, it
it's
doesn't
probably,
change it.
they also looked at the minutes of the meetings of the board when they're talking about how they're gonna fund, this very difficult question and those minutes reflect a lot of discussion about, taxes and, and the levy and referendums and things that they then try to use to make it look like it's really just a way to get past the fact that are, this is a tax, so.
That's why I asked the question, and if the referendum question was for or against the fee, would that make a difference? But you're thinking not.
Yeah, I think you go the other way. If you're gonna do the fee, you do the fee and you say, we've got an option to, this is a way that we can fund our fire and EMS service, and this is how we're gonna do it. And we're gonna set it up in a way where the cost is gonna be distributed fairly across all the properties here, and that's what we're gonna do. And then, I think it makes it harder for them to say it's a tax if you're gonna just make it a fee and follow, that all the way through. But again, it's gotta be so that the amount you collect is the equivalent to or less than what your fire service fee is gonna be to Safer. Because if it looks like it's a money-making, venture, then they're gonna for sure say it's a tax.
I mean, I'm just, going to a referendum and having it fail and then voting for the fee, to me, is just an absolute slap in the face. And, I'm sure others could argue and say different things about that, but that's just my point. Not that I would think that it would fail. It may not fail, but anyway.
If we were to do a referendum, I believe the board would have to act on that in December, because
Yes, we have to have it done before the end of the year,
Right.
70 days.
70 days prior to the election. So it actually have to be in January.
January.
Yeah.
So, yep. But, do you want to move this to the next board meeting, the 20th, and hopefully have a full board?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, and you,
okay.
again, what would make it a referendum is the passing of the resolution that would.
I mean the
happen.
fee too. I meant the fee also.
Okay, we can do both.
Yeah.
Can I ask one more question? Just because. So again, my proposal, just so the board is aware, is that I will ask for 3 people again next year and 3 people the year after that. So I'm not sure how that works referendum wise. I'm guessing we would not want to ask for referendums 3 years in a row because it probably would not go over well. I'm not sure. I don't have the expertise of how that works out for running a referendum, but just so the board is aware of that,
Yes.
is that would be the future plans.
And I guess if that's the case, you know, we added 3 this year, you know, if we're gonna go to a referendum, do we just plan on 6 right away?
Right, well, that a referendum would allow us to increase taxes for a specific thing for so many years. And hopefully, at some point, maybe it wouldn't be as much of, our TIF districts. When we close those, there'll be a little extra, so we wouldn't have to, you know, tax as much. But I know what you're saying, Mark, but I think the residents need that to be able to make that
Said that.
choice.
Yep, you've said that before.
Mhm.
So,
The only piece with
Mhm,
adding the 6 is we just remember, we're in a partnership with Rib Mountain, so.
Yeah.
We
well,
want.
that's the other thing I wanted to add is, you know, so there's a lot of different things that could happen or possibly could happen. And the other one is that the talks could start up again with, Riverside and Safer together and merging, you know, the departments, those municipalities together too. I think that'd be very helpful and be very hopeful, so. Both, yeah. I just think it makes sense, you know, because right now we're kind of hip scotching across and it would just make sense, just like the police departments are too. Okay, so we're gonna move this to the October 20th.
Yes.
Fee and also the referendum question, both. Okay. We gotta get this decided. We gotta get this done. All right, so, as early as you can, let the clerk know if you're gonna be in attendance, so hopefully we'll have a closer to a full board. Let's see, Safer Grant, municipal attorney, thank you, by the way, Matt, good job on that explanation. The one question I had though is, we're talking about town and villages, is there ever a fire fee for, city? It could, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I would think they'd be in the same boat as a
Right,
village.
Right,
And, so,
I mean, Wassa did I think the Wassa did 12 fire personnel,
They had added,
a year or
yes.
two ago, and that was with a grant, I believe, with the governor.
Safer.
Grant.
It was a
and
safer
ARPA
grant?
funding.
Oh, okay, and ARPA fund, okay. But now it's all on them. Those
And they
12.
will be going to referendum in April, it sounds like.
Oh, they will, okay, to continue.
Correct.
Holy mackerel, okay. So that referendum will be posed to hold the 12.
Correct.
All right. Anything else? No. We pretty
We're
much-
just checking what,
Yeah.
20th,
20th?
good, yeah.
Thanks again, Matt. Remarks from staff.
I just put a little half sheet in
Yeah.
front about the bike and pedestrian plan. We have the survey currently launched and there's a QR code to direct link. I think we have 124 respondents right now. I'd like to get about 450. So if you haven't.
How many times can you do it? Oh,
Once.
just once. Right, I just wondered.
Once. If you've already replied, great. If you haven't, please do. But if you have already replied, give this sheet to someone that hasn't.
Yeah.
So let's get to 450.
Okay. Rock and roll. So, anything else from staff? No. Thank you, Josh.
For your input too, remarks from trustees.
I just tremendous work by Jessica and everybody else on this budget. I think it's been really interesting to see this process from beginning to where we are now and how we've gotten to this point. And you guys do a really good job. So thank you.
I have nothing to add.
Shane?
I think all their presentation was good, each session. I went home with something, so it was great.
I agree. Barb?
I appreciate the hard work that's put in.
I do. I think sometimes, sometimes with expression, not always with expression, but I feel sometimes, you know, are they listening? Are they getting this? Because the most quiet this board is during a budget workshop. And seriously, I just sit here and I think, should I say something? Should I be a little comical? No, this should be very serious. But I sometimes worry for you that, you know, come on, where's my feedback? Because for years you've been asking, come on, let's have a discussion. Let's talk about this. And I think it's getting better. I think the way you present it is very understandable, you know, for all of us. So, and a huge thank you to you and your staff and what you do. So I'm a huge fan of your department and you do a great job. So, good. Let's see, that's all I have. The next meeting is October 20th. And that's also the budget timeline, but it's also our next Board of Trustees meeting. And hearing nothing else, future meeting October 20th. Looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
By Cronin. Second by Ermeling. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so carried. We're adjourned at 7:26. Thank you all.